All right, guys. Hi, I'm Chef Joe. I believe I've met some of you, but for those of you who I have not met, again, I'm Chef Joe. Today we're going to be doing a healthy stir fry. So this is a very quick, easy recipe to do. I'm going to kind of slow it down just a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about knife skills and how to do some different cuts and some chopping and things like that before we get started with the recipe as a whole. But the very first thing we want to do is talk about the first thing you do in the kitchen, which is wash your hands. So I'm going to go ahead and guess, since I didn't get to look at everybody, that everybody's already cleaned their mitts, right? Does everybody wash their hands? Give me thumbs up if you've washed your hands. Good, good. Okay, so that's the first thing I did. Second thing is I get all my stuff together. It's always easier when we go to cook a recipe if we have everything we're going to need. So I needed, in this case, I needed my burner, but at home I'm sure you're using your stove. If you're cooking over a campfire, I don't recommend that in the house, so let's try to be safe. I'm going to use, you can use just a medium size or a large skillet or a wok if you have them. Woks are kind of bowl-shaped saute pans. They're used in Asian cooking a lot. They make it easy to do that really cool flippy thing you see how chefs do sometimes. So I've got that ready, and I've got all my ingredients, just like you guys have got. The other things that we'll need is a knife, and then I have a whisk to use to mix up my sauce, and then I've just got some tongs to work my ingredients around in my pan, or you can use a spoon. Whatever you've got works just fine. I also have a vegetable peeler, which is optional. The only thing that we have that we may want to peel is our carrots. But you don't have to. If you wash your carrots really good, you can leave the peel on. There's a little bit more vitamins and minerals in the peel. If you don't like the texture of the peel, you can use your handy-dandy vegetable peeler to peel the carrot, but we'll get to that in just a second. Otherwise, everything's already measured out and ready for us to get started. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is make the sauce, and we're going to set it aside. So I've got just a little bowl and my whisk. And then I'm just going to start adding my ingredients. So I have some low sodium soy sauce, and that's good just to limit the amount of salt that we're taking in. And then that way, if we use low sodium and it needs more salt, you can always add a pinch of salt, but it's a lot harder to take it away than it is to add it. So I'm going to go into the bowl with my soy sauce. Set my cup. Then in the recipe, it says optional rice wine vinegar. They didn't have very much rice wine vinegar at the store, so I wasn't able to get everybody rice wine vinegar, but I do have a little bit here that I'm going to add. At home, if you don't have rice wine vinegar and if you have lemon juice, you can add a little bit of lemon juice, but again, that's completely optional. I'm just going to add it. If you can find it in the store, I recommend trying Kroger's. I did a lot of the shopping at Aldi. They didn't quite have it there. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends. Then in this cup here, I have, I believe it's 5 tablespoons of low sodium vegetable broth. So again, we're just watching our salt intake. I'm going to add that to my sauce. And that's made from a bunch of different vegetables cooked down with like chicken broth in a soup, but with vegetables. So it's all the more healthy. And then we're doing about 2 teaspoons of honey. This will help our sauce to kind of thicken a little bit. Plus it adds a sweetness without adding a bunch of sugar. Is everybody keeping up so far? Everybody's doing good? All right. Last but not least, we have a little bit of cornstarch here. That's the white powdery stuff that we have measured out for you. We're going to add that to our sauce. Just shake that into there. Then we're going to take our whisk. And we're going to give this a stir until it's all incorporated together. So just keep mixing until you feel that honey kind of swirl around into there. You'll feel it at first. It's a little sticky, but then it'll start to loosen up as it incorporates all throughout your dish. You'll see that this takes on kind of a coffee-looking color almost. It kind of looks like a cup of coffee, but don't trick your parents into thinking this is coffee and have them drink it because they will not be happy with you. Okay, so I've got that all mixed up. Can you guys see?
Hey, Chef Joe, you may want to slow down just a little bit because some of them, again, didn't get the measured ingredients. So
Okay.
they're actually measuring right now.
Okay, if you're
So,
measuring
yeah,
it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Any questions so far? So that's kind of what my sauce
And
looks
we
like.
apologize
Like I
if
said.
you guys did not get the ingredients. There was a little mix up with that. So Chef Joe had graciously measured everything out for you.
I tried, guys. I tried. You should have seen me in my kitchen the other night. I had an assembly line set up measuring all of your stuff out. It was probably comical. We should have filmed that part because I was scrambling. Once you get everything measured out and everything into the pool, so to speak, mixed up, you can just set this to the side and it'll hang out. We'll need it again once we start cooking our recipe. I'll give you guys a chance to get caught up with me there. I like being able to watch you guys in the kitchen too. This is pretty neat. I see a lot of focused faces. I like that. See some whisking going on. Okay. Can I get thumbs up when you guys are ready? I see some thumbs. Oh, I'm seeing thumbs. Oh, I'm seeing double thumbs. Double thumbs. Awesome. Okay. I think we're okay now. So the next thing I want to start talking about is the stars of the show. That's our vegetables for tonight. So with a veggie stir fry, the cool thing about it is you really don't need a recipe once you get the idea for it down. So that's what I'm giving you guys tonight is the idea for it. You don't have to use these veggies. The next time you make a veggie stir fry, you can mix in your very favorite vegetables. But the big thing is getting as many vegetables and as many different colors as you can incorporated into one dish. So that's the real secret. But the neat thing is we're using spinach, which is the vegetable of the month for January. And that's a very nutritious thing. So we've got spinach. We've got a bell pepper. You might have an orange one. You might have a yellow one. Most of us got red. They all taste the same. So whatever color bell pepper you want to use is fine. Also got an onion. And we've got a couple of carrots. And then a container of white mushrooms. Now, the mushrooms, if you open up the package to the mushrooms, they might be a little bit dirty. All you got to do is put them in a colander, rinse them off a little bit, and then kind of roll them out on a paper towel to dry. You don't really want to soak them too much or anything or leave them submerged in water, but just a quick little rinse just to get some of that dirt off is all you need to do. So, oh, I almost missed something. Garlic. We just need 2 cloves for this recipe. So here are my cloves. So that's what I'm going to start with is the garlic. So a head of garlic is like a bulb, like an onion. And it's made up of these individual little cloves or little pods of garlic. You break these out, and then they're still kind of wrapped in a paper. And you can take your time and peel that off, but the secret that I want to show you guys is if you lay your knife flat on top of the garlic and then take your hand and smush that garlic down until you hear it crunch and crack and it kind of flattens out a little bit, you'll see that you can peel that paper away and it leaves you with a peeled piece of garlic. I'm going to do that to both of my cloves to get them ready to then cut. Kind of like unwrapping a Christmas present. Make sure you get all of the little paper off there, and you can throw that away. Okay, now you'll see on garlic too that there's a really hard end piece. It's kind of like the root end of the garlic or like a root end of the onion. That's not good. It'll hurt your teeth. So you just want to take your knife and very carefully slice that off there. You can throw that away. So I'm just throwing that end away. You'll feel it. It's really crunchy on the end. And then we can set our garlic aside. I want to talk about how to hold the knife. So that's kind of a very important thing. You see a handle on a knife and your instinct is maybe to hold it back here, kind of like a sword. That's not very good for cooking because it's really wobbly in our hands. So I do what I call a pinch grip. So I take my thumb and forefinger, my thumb and my index finger, my number one finger, and pinch right where the handle meets the blade. And then I wrap the rest of my hands around it so that it's really tight in my hand and I can control my knife very well. I don't put my finger up on the spine of the knife. I don't hold it by the blade. I pinch right here and I hold it nice and tight with your fingers wrapped around. And that gives you a lot more control over the knife. The second part of this is what you do with the other hand. Now I'm right-handed, so I hold my knife in my right hand, but then my left hand is very, very, very important because this is the one that could get cut. We don't want to cut ourselves, right? Trust me, I've been there, I've done it, it's no fun. So, the very most important thing I can teach you today is what I call the claw grip. Some of you may have seen this before. It's where you curl your fingers and you kind of make a claw. And usually, if we're having class in person, I make you guys growl at me right now like a bear. So if you guys want to show me your claws and growl, I'll trust that you're growling on the other side since I can't hear you right now. But I take my fingers, I make that, I see some claws, that's good. And that way you keep your fingertips tucked up under so that your knife isn't going to come down and cut that. So all we need to do with this garlic is cut some slices off. But I'm using that left hand to very carefully hold on to the clove of garlic. And then I'm going to put the tip of my knife on the cutting board. And almost like a locomotive, you'll see how I can rock back and forth, keeping the tip on the board, pushing and pulling. It makes a really fluid motion. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull back through and push. I'm just going really slow and get nice thin slices of garlic. You just take your time doing this because you want them to be nice and thin. And it's important that all of your cuts kind of be the same. And the reason for that is if you cut one piece that's really big and chunky and then one piece that's really thin, that thin piece will burn and then the chunky piece won't cook and then it won't taste right. So you want to keep everything the same size. So just go nice and slow until you get close to your fingertips. And that last little bit, the little hunk on the end, you can set that aside because it's too little to worry about trying to cut and not cut our fingers. Is everybody doing okay cutting their garlic so far? I'm going to start on my second clove. I'm going to do the exact same thing, just really slow, nice, even slices.
Hey, Chef Joe, we have a question. Somebody wants to know if they can use a garlic press.
Yes, you absolutely can. This recipe, I'm slicing the garlic, but a lot of times you'll see a recipe called for minced garlic, and that's where you cut it up really, really fine. You can do that with a knife, and it's really easy, and I can show you guys how to do that. But I do recommend buying a garlic press because it's even easier. All you do is peel your garlic like we did, smash it with the back of a spoon or your knife, and a garlic press, you stick it down in there, and then you squeeze it, and then it shoots garlic out the other side. And that works too. The only thing about that in a dish like this you have to watch out for is it makes your garlic into smaller, even smaller pieces than these, and they may burn quicker. So you have to be careful about when you add it to the pan to really watch it. Make sure you stir it around so that it doesn't stick or burn. But that's a very good question. Garlic presses are great. I'm actually surprised I don't have one in my toolkit right now. I need to go buy one. So thank you for reminding me. But I'm going to finish slicing that up. Nice and slow. And when you get down close to your fingers and it starts to feel a little bit scary, that's the best time to stop. Okay, so there's our garlic cut up, and I'm just going to scoot this to the side because we don't need it quite yet. And we're going to move on to the next thing, and this is the one that scares a lot of people, the onion. This one's kind of scary because it makes us cry. And I might cry in front of you guys tonight, so please don't laugh at me if I cry, because I won't laugh at you. But okay, I'm just kidding. You can laugh at me all you want because it is kind of silly to watch me cry when I cut an onion. But I'll tell you why we cry when we cut onions, because onions release a gas, and that gas likes to go to the first source of moisture, and that's usually our eyes and our nose and our mouth. They're all moist, right? So that gas likes to travel up to our face, and it gets in our nose and in our mouth and in our eyes, and that's what makes us cry. And you'll probably hear a bunch of different stories about tricks that you can do. Some people say if you chew gum while you're cutting an onion that you won't cry. That's not true. If you chew on a piece of bread while you're cutting an onion, that has never worked for me either. The only thing I know for sure that works is if you wear goggles, like swimming goggles. Or sometimes if you have glasses, you're a little bit safer. But for the most part, sometimes we just cry. The other thing that can help with that, though, is a nice sharp knife. So the sharper your knife, the less damage you do to the onion, the less the onion wants to make you cry back in return. So a sharp knife is very, very important. You'll see on your onion, there is a root end, and that usually has some little hairy-like things sticking off of it. I always kind of like pinch those off and throw them away, or you can trim it up a little bit with your knife. And then there is what I call the cap end, and that's where there's usually a little bit more of the paper that sticks up, kind of like an elf's hat. My onion doesn't have very much of one right now, but that's the two ends of the onion. So what I do first, set the onion on the board, and I cut the end off just barely, just to put a flat surface that my onion will set on and not roll away on me. And then I cut it in half down through the root end. So you'll go nice and slow. You'll have your onion in two halves. Then what you can do is finish peeling your onion. Makes it a little easier to peel once it's cut in half. You'll peel that paper back, and this can be sticky. Sometimes it takes a second. Chef Joe doesn't have fingernails. He keeps them very, very short, so it's even harder. Okay, so that one, sometimes if there's a little bit of paper that sticks, you can use your knife, but please do so very carefully. Never work with your knife cutting towards yourself, always away. That way if you slip, you're much less likely to cut yourself. But that half is peeled. I'm going to peel the second half. Here's my knife. Sometimes they're more stubborn than others. I'm not crying yet. Is anybody else crying? Really depends on your onion. I might cry if I can't get it peeled. I hope you guys are having an easier time peeling your onion than I am. Okay. Once you've got it peeled, here, right? I take my knife and I just barely trim the root end off. You don't cut it off completely. You want to leave a little bit of it attached, but I get rid of what I call the gnarly end that's been in the ground. And the reason I do that and leave a little bit of it attached is because it keeps the onion held together. That's going to kind of be our anchor. So I'm going to do that to the other half too. And then I'm going to clear my board of all of the onion paper. I'm going to scoop that off into the trash. Okay. Everybody caught up, everybody's onions peeled. Now for the onion, you could cut this just about any way you wanted to for this recipe. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do some slices. So onion from here, what you want to do is take the root end under your hand, facing away from the farthest part away from the knife. So I've got the root end here. And we're going to cut towards the root end. I'm going to do the same thing we did to that garlic and do that nice slicing motion with the tip of my knife left on the board, dragging it back through and then pushing down and forward to get nice thin slices of onion. I'm going to work slow. If you have bits kind of stick to your knife, I take my finger and I always push away from the blade, never come towards your blade. That's a very, very quick way to cut yourself. I've made that mistake before, so take my advice. You don't want to do that. Now, when you get down to the end and it starts to get a little bit wobbly, you can go ahead and turn that bit of onion over. And depending on how big your onion is, you may be able to get a few more little slices off of it until you're down to the last of it, and you can throw that away. And then we will repeat the process on the other half of the onion, the exact same way as before. So again, the tip of your knife on the board, you got your claw grip holding your onion with your fingers tucked in, not with your fingertips out. I know it's more natural to want to stick your fingers out and really hold it tight, but you have to practice. You can even dig your fingernails into it just a little bit to kind of hold on to it. That way your hand doesn't slip off. We're going to do the same slicing motion. I'm going to go a little bit faster now to show you that after you practice a little bit, you can cut just a little bit faster. But always, no matter how experienced I am, I always slow down when I get close to my hand. Again, I can get a few more slices off of this side, same way. And that's how you slice an onion. Does anybody have any questions about how to slice an onion? These kind of slices are great for, like, if you are going to put onions in a salad, if you're going to put them on a sandwich, or if you're going to use them in a soup or a stir fry. You can do a lot of different stuff with just cutting them just like this. All right. So the very next thing that I want to move on to is our bell pepper. This one is pretty easy, I think, to cut. I think you guys will think so too. You'll see on your peppers, there's ridges along the top. Mine has 3, sometimes you'll have 4. But what I like to do, pepper in the center of my board, and then with my knife, come close to where the stalk meets the red part, and you're going to cut just on the outside of that green and slice all the way down until a piece like that falls off. Then you're going to turn it, and you're going to do the same thing again. Slicing down, get another slice off, and then with this one, this side's a little bit smaller, but it's the same idea. Slice down. And then I've got 3 pieces of bell pepper there to work with. This you can save for compost, or you can just pitch it. And you'll see some little seeds and stuff pop out of there. You can throw those away. You don't need the seeds. You'll see on the inside of your pepper, there is a white membrane-like stuff. You can do a couple of different things here. Sometimes you can kind of pinch it out and just rip it and get rid of most of it. I kind of smack it on the cutting board to knock any loose seeds out of there. Sometimes you can't really pinch it out. See, like this, well, I don't know if you can quite see, but that one doesn't want to just be torn out. So what I do with that, I lay it on the board and then very carefully, cutting away from myself, I kind of lay my knife flat and seesaw it back and forth and just kind of trim that off. Doesn't have to be pretty. All you're doing is just trying to cut that little bit of white off of there. It's not going to hurt you or anything if you leave it in there, but I will tell you that with spicier peppers, if anybody likes spicy peppers, that membrane, that white part and the seeds are where all the heat is. So anytime you're working with a spicy pepper, you want to take all that stuff out, and that gives less heat, so you're not going to burn your mouth up. But also, you don't have to worry about this with bell peppers, but if you're ever working with a spicy pepper and you touch any of this stuff on the inside, immediately go wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't scratch your nose. It's a bad time. You'll burn your face. I've done it. It's really bad. You don't want to do that. So for this one, I'm going to do this. I think I can just kind of tear the seeds and that membrane out of that one. And then that leaves us with 3 pieces of bell pepper to then go on and cut. So a lot of people, when they go to cut bell peppers, I see that they try to cut through the shiny side, the outside skin. And if you have a really sharp knife, it'll work just fine doing it that way. But I see sometimes people have a hard time getting through that outside skin. So I like to turn it over and cut to the inside where it's softer. And all we're going to do here is I lay it flat on the cutting board, and using that same pull and cut that we've been doing, I'm going to slide back through here slowly and cut little strips off. And then again, of course, I got to the middle. There's a little bit more of that membrane there. I'm just going to tear that off. Working slow, especially the closer I get to my fingers. And then you get these nice little strips. So you can set those aside and then work on the other pieces. And you're going to repeat this process until you've got your whole bell pepper cut up like this. You want to work slow enough that you're taking time to make sure all of your cuts are roughly the same size. It's very important in a stir fry because stir fries happen very quickly. Once everything's cut up, everybody's in the pan and we move very fast. And it helps make sure that everything cooks quickly and evenly. So I'm going to do the same thing to my last bit of bell pepper. Slowing down the closer I get to my fingers. Extra careful. Okay. And that's how you slice a bell pepper. Now, if you wanted to dice your bell pepper up into smaller pieces, maybe you just like smaller pieces, just take 2 or 3 of those strips at a time, and then you can come back across this way doing the same kind of cut, and you can cut them into smaller pieces if you want to do that. I'm going to leave mine in strips, but I know sometimes people want to cut things into different shapes, and that's an easy way to do that with the bell pepper. Everybody doing okay so far? Looks like it. Okay, thumbs up. All right, so we have 2 more vegetables to cut now. We have carrots and we have mushrooms. I'm going to go with the carrots first. Then again, like I told you, there is peel on the outside of this, but perfectly fine to eat if you'd like. If having the peel on bothers you, I encourage you to try it, but if you do want to take the peel off, I use we call these a speed peeler or a little Y peeler, or your parents may have a straight peeler. Whatever kind of vegetable peeler you have is fine, but I always peel away from myself and into the trash or into a bowl. So I'm just going to take my peeler, the carrot real quick. This is how you peel a carrot quickly. to one end. I work all the way around until I've got that done, and then I flip it over. I just turn it in my hand as I go. It takes a little bit of practice to turn. It's kind of like walking and chewing bubble gum. I'm not very good at that. I run into doors. Okay, one more time. Just gonna peel. Flip it over. Once your carrots are peeled, or if you're skipping the peeling, then the next thing you want to do is you'll see the two ends of the carrot. We're just going to trim those off. I'm going to trim just the tips off, throw those away, flip them around, trim off the tops, just a little bit of the way down, just to take that root end off. Then you're left with two medium-sized carrots. And to make it a little bit easier, I put them together, even though they're not exactly the same size, they're roughly the same size, and then I just cut them in half. And that gives you 4 pieces of carrots to work with, and we'll do one at a time. The more you practice, you may be able to cut 2 pieces of carrot at a time, but to start, I want to start with just cutting one. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to cut carrots. You can cut carrots into strips. You can cut them into diamonds, triangles, all kinds of different ways. We're just going to cut them into little rounds. And we're going to do it. We've been doing our other cuts this evening. We're going to use our claw grip to hold our carrot really firm. And you're going to find the carrot's a little bit harder to cut through, but you're going to cut nice, thin pieces, just like we've been doing. May stick to your knife a little bit more. I keep the tip of my knife on my board. Slowly work down the carrot. Taking a minute here and there to unstick carrots from my knife. Readjust my claw grip so I know that my fingers are safe and out of the way. Slow down at the very end. That's how you cut little coins or rounds out of a carrot. Those will look great in our stir fry. You're already seeing we got different colors going on here. I'm going to move on to the second piece of carrot, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to move a little faster this time. The same thing every time. It's always making sure that your fingers are safe and out of the way. It's much more important to go slow and not cut yourself than it is to try to go really fast and then end up hurting yourself. You can't really enjoy your stir fry if your fingers are hurting, right? Again, just like with all of our other cuts tonight, we're trying to make these all as even and equal as possible so that everything cooks quickly and at the same time. Okay, and now I'll show you that after a little bit of practice, you can cut 2 pieces at a time. But it's really the best thing in the world. Carrots are pretty cheap at the store. Go buy a bag of carrots. And if you start practicing with this in an evening, you'll be doing 2 at a time. I almost guarantee it. Same thing. Holding my carrots really firmly. My knife never comes close to my fingers that are holding the carrots. You always slow down and adjust before you get close to your fingers. And by keeping the tip of my knife on my board, that also helps to reduce the risk that I'm going to cut myself. And anytime you got food sticking to your knife, be very, very careful when you're pushing it off the blade. slow down close to the end. There we go. That's how you cut rounds or little coins out of carrots. Everybody do okay with their carrots? I see thumbs. That's good. All right. Nobody's lost any thumbs. That's very good. Okay. I'm going to take just a second to scoot these out of the way. Cutting board's getting a little crowded. At home, best thing in the world to do is just, once you get something cut up, stick it in a little bowl. That way it's ready to go into your dish when you're ready. I know sometimes we have smaller cutting boards at home. I know my cutting boards at my house are really tiny and I run out of room really quick. Okay, so the next thing is our mushrooms. So these, like I said, I just lightly rinsed off because I had just a little bit of dirt on them. And all you need to do with these is take your thumb and you kind of snap the stem out and they pop out just like that. You can throw the stem away or save that for compost. Sometimes they'll break. You can still go back in there and they just pop right out. I'm going to go ahead and go through all of my mushrooms and do that. And you'll see once you knock those stems out of there, your mushrooms set really nice and firm on your cutting board. We'll line all these guys up. Okay, now once we get all of the stems out of our mushrooms, before we start cutting our mushrooms, now is a perfect time to begin preheating our pan for our stir fry. So I'm going to turn my burner on to about medium heat. I'm going to let that start to heat up for a few minutes before we add oil to the pan. I'll have my oil on standby. Okay. Make some room here so we can cut some mushrooms. Now, to slice a button mushroom, it's going to be pretty much the same thing we did. Those nice sliding cuts. So this just gives us, this entire recipe is a perfect dish to practice these knife skills with. So I'm going to go back through until I get close to my fingers again, and then I'm going to slow down and make my final cut. So it's very easy, nice little slices, pulling my knife back through, keeping the tip on the board, slowing down at the end. We're going to do that with all of the mushrooms. Now you'll see with practice you can go a little bit faster, but you'll notice I'm still working slow when I get down close to that hand that is holding whatever product it is that I'm cutting up. Do the same thing again. The tip of that knife never leaves the board. I've been cooking since I was younger than some of you guys. I've been in kitchens my entire life, and this is just one of those things you get better at every day that you're in the kitchen. The more you use it, it's like riding a bicycle. Like the more you do it, the more it just kind of becomes second nature, and they say you never forget how to ride a bike once you've learned how to do it. So once you guys learn how and master these knife skills, you guys will be able to cook any dish you want the rest of your life. You'll always be able to say, okay, I know the basics, I know how to chop, I know how to cut, I know how to heat up pans, I know how to get organized. And then maybe you guys will be making your own recipe. One day I'll be taking a cooking class from you guys. but hopefully in person and not virtually, right? I can't wait until we can have classes where I can walk around and see you guys and see your knife cuts. Very excited. Hopefully we'll all get to be able to be together again real soon. Okay, I just have a couple more mushrooms left here. Just keep repeating that same process. Going slow when you get close to your fingers. Now you could use any type of mushroom that you do in this dish. You could use cremini, shiitake. You know, these are just like a white button mushroom, but whatever is available or looks good to you would work just fine. Okay, almost to the end of my last mushroom. There we go. There's all of our veggies cut and ready to go into our stir fry. Now the spinach is great. It's already prepped and ready. So I just got it in a bowl by itself. And then there is one other thing. While we're doing the stir fry, we have some packages of cauliflower rice. Mine's in a purple package. Mine just has some garlic and herb added to it. Here, I think your guys is just regular cauliflower rice. It's not really rice. It's just cauliflower that they broke up into little pieces, and it's like rice. That's really cool. It's healthier for us, so that's why we're using that. But we're going to follow the instructions on the package here and use our...
Yeah, there's a question. How much spinach do they need to use?
We should be able to use the entire bag, one whole bag. I think it is, yeah, one bag. It looks like a lot, but that's only 8 ounces of spinach. That's something you guys will learn about spinach when you start cooking it. You think you have a big bowl of spinach, and then it turns into a tiny little bit when you get done cooking it. So it looks like a lot more than it really is. So with this, I'm going to pop this into the microwave. It says don't put any holes in it. And you want to kind of break the little bits of cauliflower up if there's any clumps where it's been frozen. So you kind of want to massage it a little bit, make sure those are broken up. And then it says to microwave on high for 4 to 5 minutes, and then to let it set for a whole minute to kind of cool off. So because what we're doing is we're steaming inside of this bag. So it's going to trap all the moisture inside of here and cook our rice for us. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave behind me.
If you didn't want to microwave it, would there be another way that you could do that?
Okay.
Miranda asked a quick question.
What's that?
If they didn't want to use the microwave, would there be another way to do that with the cauliflower rice?
Yeah, you could.
Instead of microwaving.
Steam it in a pan with a little bit of water at the bottom and do it that way. That would work okay too. This was just more for ease of use, so you didn't have to dirty another pot, but that's totally fine. You'll never hear me say not to cook something. So, okay, so I can take my hand and feel now that this pan is getting hot. So I'm going to take my oil. This is, I hope everybody's kind of paying attention now because this is going to move a little bit quicker now. So I'll make sure everybody's caught up before I get started. Can I get thumbs up? Make sure everybody's with me. See some thumbs. I got thumbs. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go in with. I'm going to turn my pan down just a little bit. It's extra hot. The first thing, we're going to go in with our onions. You're going to want to cook these until they get kind of translucent. Which means they start to kind of clear up just a little bit. Setting off the fire alarm.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, sorry, we set off the smoke alarm, so
I'll keep the door.
it kind of sounded like a rock concert.
I'll get a
for a second.
fan.
Okay, so my onions are kind of starting to clear up a little bit. They're going a little bit translucent. So the very next thing we want to do, I said the recipe around 3 minutes. It also depends on how it is. Obviously mine was very hot, so it might have went a little bit quicker. So kind of just keep an eye on that. But then we're going to go in with our bell peppers, our carrots, and our mushrooms. Everybody can kind of go in at the same time. I'm going to do the old swoop technique. Slide everybody in there. My pan got real hot, so I'm having to add just a little bit more oil. Now, I used olive oil here. You guys could use grapeseed oil. You could use canola oil. If you have a particular health-conscious oil that you want to use, by all means. I just recommend something with a milder flavor so that it doesn't really overpower your dish. So once you add your vegetables in, and they call this dish a stir fry, is because you get to keep kind of stirring everything up. I'm hearing my microwave dinging behind me, so we're going to let that set for about 1 minute while we're finishing up our stir fry here. This part's probably going to last about 5 minutes or so. Really, the hardest vegetable in this is your carrots. So you're really just doing this long enough to kind of get your carrots cooked. The mushrooms and peppers cook pretty quick. This is a good time now. You have black pepper and a little bit of kosher salt. And you can do this to taste. You do not have to add the entire container. If you like less pepper, use less pepper. If you're watching your salt, use a little bit less salt. But a little bit of salt and pepper. And give that a stir around. I'll let this go for just a couple more minutes before I add the garlic and then the sauce that we made earlier and the spinach. Those are the last 3 things that'll go in. Now at this point, your sauce has kind of been sitting there for a little bit. You may want to take your whisk, kind of whisk it back up. Sometimes that honey gets stuck to the bottom. That way it's all nice and mixed together when we are ready to add it. You'll see that your mushrooms start to kind of get softer. The peppers get a little bit softer. If you get a little bit of color on your vegetables, and by color I mean a little bit of browning, that's okay. You don't want to burn them, obviously, but a little bit of color is fine. It just adds a little bit of flavor. And again, you can do this with all kinds of different vegetables. If you wanted to add in a bag of frozen peas to this, like you could dump in some frozen peas to get some peas in there. You could take little baby corn on the cobs and put those in here, or you could take frozen. I'm saying use frozen vegetables because they're usually a little bit more healthy than your canned vegetables because they usually can them with a bunch of salt and other nasty stuff in there. But this would be great if you threw a handful of frozen corn or peas, or like a mixed blend of vegetables that you can get at the store with carrots and peas and different things like that in it. It would work great in this. Tomatoes in the summertime when tomatoes are nice, that would be great. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see, I'll kind of pick some of this up. You can see it's getting a lot softer now. So this is the best time to add in my garlic. the reason we didn't add the garlic in at the beginning is because it would have burnt. Just like I almost set the kitchen on fire. Good thing you guys weren't here tonight because I set off the smoke alarm and everything. Okay, we'll give our garlic just a little bit of time. Kind of stir it in. Okay, now when we add our spinach, I'm going to do like a little bit of like about a handful at a time. I'll take that back. I'm going to add my sauce in first. I may be ripping on the recipe a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add this sauce. Kind of swirl that around. You may have a little bit of the cornstarch on the bottom. Make sure to get that in there. Kind of stir that around. You'll see that the sauce will kind of start to cling to the vegetables a little bit. And then that's when you can add a little bit of spinach at a time until you get it all incorporated in. You'll see that the spinach up and gets soft relatively quickly. You may ask like why we didn't chop up the spinach. You'll see here in a second, once it starts to cook, it kind of shrinks up. So you really don't have to spend time cutting it up. Now, if you guys long and you see that you have a lot of juice in the bottom of your pan and it doesn't start to kind of thicken up and kind of hug onto your vegetables a little bit, just turn your heat up just a little bit and let that kind of start to bubble and boil a little bit, and that'll thicken up for you. Start working to incorporate the rest of my spinach. Guys, basically, as soon as this spinach is cooked, the dish is done. So we're almost to the finish line here. And I'll show you guys how to plate it up with our cauliflower rice, which has been setting in the microwave. It should be starting to cool off enough for us to handle now, which is perfect timing because we're just about ready for it. Like I said, work in batches until you get the spinach in there, and then the spinach that's on the bottom of this has already started to wilt. So once I start stirring this up here in just a second, we'll see that we've got it all just about where we want it. And what you can do to help the rest of that spinach cook is move a little bit of the cooked spinach from the bottom, kind of lay it over on the top, and that helps the rest of it wilt down. I hope your all's kitchen smells as good as ours does right now. Now again, this would be optional, but at this point in the stir fry, if you wanted to add some fresh herbs like cilantro, or if you wanted to add lemon zest and lemon juice, you could do that. You could do all kinds of different stuff to this. We didn't do any meat today, but if you wanted to, you could add like cooked chicken or something like that to this. It would work just fine. All right, guys, this is looking great. Give it a little flip. All my spinach is nice and incorporated. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off and let the heat that's left in my pan do the rest of the work here. Perfect. All right, let's get our cauliflower rice. Be careful when you take this out of the microwave. It's going to be very hot. You'll see A little bit of steam coming out of here, guys. Be very, very careful. There is not much more painful in a kitchen than a steam burn. If you think getting burned by hot grease is bad, steam burns are the worst. They'll peel your skin right off. So be very, very careful when opening this bag. I'm just going to take my knife and let some of that steam out. All right. I'm going to add this. I've just got for a bowl. You could serve this on the side if you want, but we're going to serve it kind of restaurant style and put everything together. Just making a mound of cauliflower rice. All right, then we've got our nice, beautiful vegetable stir fry here. Look at all those colors. We've got onions, we've got garlic, we've got mushrooms, we've got peppers, nice orange carrots. What's up on top? Does anybody have any questions? A little bit of the vegetables kind of around. A little bit of that sauce kind of left in the bottom. Drizzle it around. All right, guys, that is our vegetable stir fry with cauliflower rice. I want to see if I can. I know your guys' camera setups are a little bit different, but if I can see some of these finished products, I'd be a very happy chef. I'd love to get feedback. Oh, yes, I can see. Oh, that looks so good, guys. That's great. I love it. I can see the steam coming off of your plates. That's great. This is awesome, guys. You guys did great. Very good job. What did you guys think? Did you think it was easy? Wasn't too hard? Is it something you think you could do again?
Somebody said it was easy.
It smells amazing. That's awesome, guys.
I think some of them are not completely done yet.
Okay.
Man.
You guys take your time. Finish her up.
Time to taste test.
Great.
Here, back.
They have real forks at being
Melissa's adding chicken. Good thing to go with it too.
What a great idea.
Everybody that is done, you can taste it. Tell us how it tastes. Tell us if it's good when you're done. I see Jay just taste testing.
I don't want to brag, guys.
Gage, was it good? You can unmute yourself and tell us.
Please, yeah, let me know.
What did you say?
I said, I saw Gage trying it. Did he like it? Was it good?
It was good.
Good.
Like I said, guys, you can do this with any vegetables you like. So if there are vegetables that you love, you want to eat more of, this is a great way to do it. But this is a perfect way to try a bunch of different vegetables and throw a bunch of different things together. And it looks really cool. You can impress your friends, impress your family. It's a very, very fun dish to make, and it's something that you can switch up and change to your own taste. So I hope everybody enjoyed it.
What did you guys think about the cauliflower rice? Did you like it? Yeah, Levi's shaking his head yes. So another thing that you could do, which is a little bit more expensive, is a pasta called Bonza Pasta, and it's made out of chickpeas. So it's actually a good substitute for regular pasta. So you can get that at the store. They make rice, they make penne, they have spiral, but that's a good option too if you don't want to do the cauliflower rice.
Yes, any stir fry like this kind of leaned a little bit more on the Asian side, but you could replace the soy sauce with like a balsamic vinegar if you wanted to, or a red wine vinegar, do something like that. And I think it would be great with pasta. There's a lot of different things you could do with a dish like this. And even just taking the skills you learned as far as the knife skills and the being able to incorporate everything into one pot and cook it all together, you can do that with so many different things. So I really hope you guys will take this and experiment with it. And I want to hear about it. Like, let us know if you try a new recipe or you make your own recipe up. We'd love to know about it.
Yeah, we'd love, you can email it to me and we can post it on Facebook too. So if you make any good recipes, send it to us.
Yeah, and if you do make a good recipe, take pictures of it. I'd love to see pictures of them too. Did everybody have fun?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Everybody who liked it, give us a thumbs up. All right. Great. And Melissa, yeah.
Yeah, so this is one dish. We got 6 vegetables in. I feel pretty accomplished with that. And you could do a stir fry with as many as 12 or 24 vegetables. The sky's the limit. You guys could throw the whole garden in there. So does anybody have any questions for me? No questions? Well, you guys are just the best students ever. You guys mastered this.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Dr. Jeffrey. So if you're cooking different vegetables like the carrots that you know are going to take longer, can you start them stir frying first?
You
'Cause
can.
it seems like a lot of times when I do stir fry, like we always put broccoli in our stir fry and the broccoli's mushy by the time we get done. So what's the remedy for that?
Well, there's 2 things you could do. One is you could steam the broccoli separately and then just add it in at the last minute to kind of get incorporated, like if you have a sauce like we did today, to kind of get coated in the sauce. And then that way you're just controlling how much you're cooking that broccoli. And that way it's not mixed in with everything else and maybe getting overcooked or undercooked one way or the other. Or like you said, with something a little bit harder like a carrot or a broccoli, you could start those things at the beginning so that they have a chance to start cooking, and then the things that take a little bit less time, they get added in at the end. And you could go about it that way. So either way, a lot of times with certain vegetables, we will either steam or what we call blanch, and that's where you have like a pot of boiling salted water and you just briefly cook those carrots or the potatoes or whatever it is that's a little bit harder. And then, oh, Levi, that looks very good, man. Very good job.
That looks
And then pull those vegetables out and then add them back in at the end. That's always an option too. That's a good question, Dr. Jeffrey. Levi's digging in. That's good. That was a big bite too. I like that. And you guys know the other important part of working in the kitchen is helping mom and dad clean up, right? No, did everybody tell you that? That's part of it. You got it. A clean kitchen is a happy kitchen. But
Gage,
you'll
are
have
you
all-
giving the dog some?
Oh,
This
Gage.
is dog.
Gage, the puppy's cute. I have a new puppy at home right now. I'm excited to get back to him. He's probably wondering where his dad went.
This
Oh, and
is
hey,
Gage's.
Said the stir fry is amazing. So
Who
he
said
loved
that?
it.
Sorry.
Marcus.
Marcus, great.
Marcus. Yep.
Marcus, who has on his special shirt. Show us a close up, Marcus. See? Woohoo!
Oh, awesome.
It's healthy kids. Yeah, it's a healthy kids shirt.
Ooh, very cool.
Yes, I think everybody really liked it, Chef Joe. Very positive comments in the chat about how good it is.
I'm seeing some of
Ooh,
those now.
look at Destiny's. Look at Destiny's. That looks awesome.
Melissa.
Oh,
Destiny. Okay, yeah.
Very good
Yeah.
presentation. Very good. I like that a lot. You guys did awesome.
Tucker.
Tucker, you're a handsome young man.
So,
Well,
all right. Anybody have any
I'm-
questions about anything?
Yeah, that one went a little faster than
Yeah, it
anticipated.
didn't take us.
But that's good. That just means you guys are just picking it up and are naturals. I know the next time I got to make stir fry for like 100 people, I don't know who to call.
So we will be doing classes monthly for the next 3-4 months. So be looking for emails. We'll be contacting you about whether or not it'll be virtual or in person. So I have your emails and we'll let you know so you can sign up if you're interested.
And watch Facebook
Yes,
because
we
that's
post
where
on-
we'll announce them.
Yep.
If you have ideas for what you want Chef Joe to make for you,
Yeah, if you guys have any
Or-
suggestions or any requests, I'd love to hear about them.
it just has to include vegetables. That's it.
Healthy pizza.
Healthy
Healthy
pizza.
pizza. Good idea, Levi.
Healthy pizzas are always good. Anybody
Yeah, I
else?
think Levi, I don't think you told Levi for the zucchini and the mushroom pizzas, were you? That Mandy made. We cooked them with Mandy. If you go to our Facebook page, Levi, they are on there. We have recipes for a mushroom, a zucchini, and what was the other one? Eggplant pizza. Marcus said tacos. Taco
Okay.
soup.
Taco
Good
soup.
soup.
Healthy taco soup. I think I could handle that.
Destiny, Destiny, go ahead and do a close up. Get in the camera, and I'll send a picture to Miss Kreiner for you. Let me see that pretty face. Ready?
Look at those peace
Got
signs.
you. I'll send it to her.
This is great.
Okay, guys, are we ready to sign off? Look, Chef Joe, you got done. It was awesome. Pace was great. Anybody have any questions before we sign off?
Everybody's mouth's full, so that's
Okay,
good.
let's. I know. Everybody unmute and let's give Chef Joe a round of applause. Unmute. Ready?
Thank you. Round of applause
Go.
for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. And Mandy and Kirk for filming for us.
Yes.
It was fun. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.